I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start. But as we saw, I didn't want to put him down early. You all know I was handcuffed. I don't want to say anything that I will be regretting in the future. But all I can say now is the first 20 seconds was enough for me to end Jake Paul.
Was right again, and this decision will prove to be positive for him.
Yeah.
But that said, he's got a broken jaw.
Done so much for me, and I just am happy and grateful, and just all the life memories that are created through these fight weeks and everything that we've done is just...
You've got to make this kid have a reality check. And that's what he actually did, because Jake Paul himself said, oh,
This is how it ends, and it's harsh. Logan Paul has now confirmed that Jake Paul is stepping away from boxing after his devastating loss to Anthony Joshua. Let that sink in. This isn't a simple retirement announcement, it's fallout. It's damage control after a single fight didn't just slow the momentum, it exposed the limits. One night turned hype into hard reality, proving that promotion can't protect you from elite power. What's more unsettling is how calm everyone suddenly sounds. No outrage, no excuses, just quiet acceptance. And that silence matters. When the noise disappears, it means a conclusion is already understood. The real question isn't why he's leaving, but why this ending feels calculated, prepared, and inevitable.
I hope that life pans out for you, because if you're unable to see this fight for what it is, you have a level of dark hatred, black energy in your heart.
Logan didn't sugarcoat it, and that's what struck first. He openly said Jake is stepping back after the loss and the broken jaw. It feels unreal because a year ago the talk was dominance and takeover. Now the language has shifted to recovery and reflection. Pay attention to those words. You don't hear them unless something went wrong behind the scenes. Maybe physical, maybe mental, maybe both. It also feels like we're missing details, especially medical ones. Being carefully softened and managed before the full truth inevitably surfaces for everyone watching closely now.
I'm going to take some time off to go support Utah at the Olympics.
So sick.
Then she's going to move to Puerto Rico, move her.
Jake's gratitude speech was meant to sound noble, but it didn't. It felt like a farewell wrapped in optimism. When fighters start recalling memories instead of outlining future plans, that's a warning sign. The praise for his resilience also felt strange because resilience is usually mentioned when winning is no longer on the table. That's where the real chill sets in. Nobody is asking when he returns anymore. They're questioning whether he should return at all. And that shift says everything about how deep and serious this moment really is.
Body, I mean, that, I wasn't being facetious before, but you never know the landscape of this, but more likely he's thought this is a good time to bow out or got a few nicks.
Eddie Hearn stepping in made everything feel heavier. He didn't describe this as emotional or temporary, but as physical reality, a broken jaw, accumulated damage, a body pushing back. That phrase should unsettle anyone, because when a fighter's own body becomes the loudest voice, the career clock is already screaming. Calling it calculated isn't praise, it's acceptance. It's the industry quietly saying, we've seen this before and it doesn't turn around. And it really feels like there's a medical report behind all this that no one wants made public.
Jake Paul knew exactly what his tactics would be going into that fight. He was in there just to survive. He wasn't in there to win. He didn't even try to win. He couldn't win. So when you know your mindset, you know your mind's like, I can't win that fight. What do? I've got to survive. How do I survive? I've got to...
Then Duke McKenzie removed the filter entirely, and things turned uncomfortable fast. He said Jake entered that fight trying to survive, not to win. Once that idea settles in, it changes everything. A survival mindset at the elite level is a losing position from the opening bell. Analysts pointing out that every move was about avoiding damage reframes the bout as a control breakdown, not a contest. And here's the real teaser. If Jake knew victory wasn't realistic, why did the fight go ahead at all who approved a survival mission against a heavyweight force like
so well, and he's a big character, and the press conferences, the build up to fights, and what he delivers in the ring, the guy is a serious talent, and he'll be missed.
Spencer Oliver's praise felt almost cruel in hindsight, because applauding survival after watching someone collapse under real pressure is pure irony. That's when the illusion finally broke for me. Social media fame vanished the moment genuine power met him in the ring. This isn't the loss of a star, it's relief. Relief that the experiment ended when it did. And if that idea feels unsettling, it should, because everyone understands just how close the situation came to becoming truly catastrophic.
Time is not going to do it again. We've seen it before, and I'm quite sure the common word's going to be the boy that cried wolf. I think
Johnny Nelson didn't soften it, and he shouldn't have, calling this humiliating but inevitable cut straight through the noise. Online toughness doesn't mean much once a real heavyweight starts applying real pressure. The boy who cried wolf comparison stings because it fits too well. And here's the unsettling part. When multiple veterans start using the same words, it makes you wonder what they're all quietly agreeing on behind closed doors, things they're choosing not to say out loud.
Like, other than boxing, there's a lot of egos involved, if that makes sense. Like, he said this, he said that.
The Fury reaction only made it worse because humiliation became the defining word. Once that label sticks, it doesn't fade. Hospital clips and one-sided beatdowns live forever in public memory. When Fury said boxer name, only it wasn't trash talk, it was a verdict. And that verdict carries weight, because boxing never forgets who gets exposed. What says the most right now is the silence from Jake's camp. It's louder than any defense they could possibly try to make.
I think Jake fought a very, how do I survive long enough to land a right hand type of fight? And it made it a little difficult for AJ to get his timing. No excuses. AJ didn't look great. I'll be honest. He didn't look great. Didn't look like, an AJ we thought we were going to get, the marauder, the guy that was going to come forward and bang out.
Frocker's breakdown was cold and precise. He painted the picture of someone overwhelmed and disoriented taking punishment without answers. It sounds harsh, but millions saw it live. Jake didn't fight with intent. He simply endured, and endurance without threat becomes humiliation. Frock calling it not a battle, but a demonstration was the most damaging part, because demonstrations are meant to teach lessons. In that moment, Jake wasn't the fighter.
Back. He should have either grabbed on, took a knee, or at least threw a bit more back. He was sitting back with his guard up, taking punches. It looked messy. It looked like he was under.
Dana White's take cut even deeper because he framed it as ambition colliding with ruthless reality. That's where the survival narrative returns. Absorbing shots from AJ isn't character building, it's career ending. Dana calling it a warning should stop every crossover fighter cold. This wasn't entertainment, it was a boundary crossed. And once that line is crossed, there's no reset, no rewind, only consequences waiting on the other side.
Bridge with my brother, unfixable.
I don't hate your brother. You guys need to fight guys your same size. When you fought Floyd, you are massive. He did hit you.
Dave Allen's honesty hit hardest for real boxing fans. He pointed out that cleverness couldn't mask the lack of power and defense, and he was right. You can't spin at ring IQ without physical tools crumbles under elite pressure. Retirement isn't about fear, it's math. Damage plus mismatch equals disaster. And disaster was already at the door.
Well, the fight was, it weren't a fight, was it? We were really one-sided. Jake Paul, yeah, I've got to give him credit really, because he's super fit. He's pretty clever really. Like, he'd make a good...
Even when analysts praised Jake's fitness, it backfired being in peak shape, while getting dismantled only highlights the gap. Eddie Hearn's comment that the final punch could have floored most pros changes the story entirely. Jake didn't just lose, he took hits meant for champions. And taking them doesn't make you equal, it exposes you. At this level, exposed means dangerous, and vulnerability is lethal.
It took AJ a couple of rounds to get hold of him, and then he knocked him spark out and broke his jaw. It was a frustrating 2-3 rounds maybe. Jake was moving so much.
I'm glad Anthony Joshua did that too, because now he won't be able to talk like he...
Mackenzie's closing words felt like a verdict, not analysis. Saying Jake literally asked for this by stepping up hits differently once you consider the injury reports. That he wasn't completely incapacitated being called miraculous shows just how close this was to disaster. This isn't drama, it's reality. And when reality intervenes, retirement stops being optional and becomes mandatory.
The broken jaw, it appears, after fighting Anthony Joshua, right? I made this graphic for you guys. You see it. Got his jaw broken in 2 places.
Care of me forever and ever? A little fucked up. But when you take care of me forever...
The broken jaw image drove the point home injuries like that don't just heal, they leave lasting marks. Reflexes, confidence, careers, they all shift, and boxing never forgives hesitation. Anyone claiming this is temporary is deceiving themselves. A jaw broken in 2 places isn't a plot twist, it's a full stop. And the final unease, nobody's asking what fight comes next. They're asking how much worse it could have.
Fucking piss take that this guy's in there with Anthony Joshua, swinging away, landing. What's he done? He's had 18 minutes and landed 2 shots, and he's gone on survival mode. And there'll be a lot of viewers on net.
My opinion was 4 of them. People will argue that he at least won 3. No one expected him to last so long. Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's toughness. You know, most people just wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men.
Don't frame this as bravery or hate. Alone, this was exposure disguised as spectacle. Jake Paul's boxing chapter didn't close quietly, it cracked under pressure. Whether you admire his courage or resent the hype, the outcome is the same. Elite boxing made its point. The current silence feels deliberate, and something tells me the full medical reality hasn't surfaced yet. When it does, the story will get darker. The retirement debate already feels misleading. Whether Jake returns almost doesn't matter. The illusion of upward momentum is gone. In boxing, once you're seen as someone who survived rather than threatened, matchmaking shifts and audiences change. I don't think Jake is weak or foolish, but he underestimated how quickly reality hits at the elite level. There's no time to adapt against someone who's been living in that danger for decades. Ambition without limits doesn't just risk loss, it ends careers. This moment will age poorly not because it happened, but because it was allowed under the guise of competition. In the future, this won't be remembered as brave or bold. It'll be a cautionary clip reference whenever someone tries to skip steps. And history suggests someone will try again. This wasn't just Jake losing, it was boxing forcefully correcting a lie allowed to grow unchecked. Hype had become a substitute for hierarchy, and social reach was pretending it could outweigh lineage. Anthony Joshua didn't just punch Jake, he popped the crossover credibility bubble. And once that happened, the rush to soften the narrative showed the industry understood the risk and accepted it anyway. What worries me most is how quickly the tone shifted from celebration to concern. That doesn't happen unless insiders saw something alarming in real time. Analysts didn't argue about wins, they talked about survival and mercy. That's not spin. That's fear leaking through professionalism. Terms like miracle or lucky aren't thrown around casually. They indicate margins thinner than we've been told. I also reject the idea that this was purely Jake's ambition driving the fight. At this level, nothing happens by accident. When promoters, commentators, and networks all echo inevitability afterward, it's collective awareness, not surprise. That raises darker questions of responsibility. Someone sold this as competitive knowing it wasn't. If Jake paid with his jaw, the moral cost hasn't been reckoned. Praise for toughness feels hollow. Toughness only matters when skill fails. Boxing isn't supposed to run on admiration, it runs on preparation and parity. Framing survival as courage is a desperate attempt to save an idea that already collapsed. Courage didn't save Jake from being outclassed, and it won't save the next influencer who thinks visibility equals readiness. This fight exposed the fragility of the crossover experiment in the heavyweight division. Heavyweights don't deal in lessons, they deal in consequences. Joshua represented the unforgiving extreme. Mistakes don't educate, they erase. The fantasy that Jake could gradually level up against that power was always doomed. And fantasies don't end quietly, they bleed. At Logan's confirmation hit differently. It wasn't just brotherly concern, it was a line drawn for self-preservation. Once one brother absorbs that level of punishment, the other must reassess the entire brand. Stepping away isn't only about healing, it's about containment.